Hi, folks. Dave Schmidt. Hey, it's Tuesday, April 14th. Want to thank you so much for joining me again this week. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for all the emails, all the comments on Facebook regarding my birthday last week, and also the things that I had shared. Your comments have just been absolutely wonderful, and I want to thank you for that. So let me do this. I want to start with a couple of administrative announcements so I can just kind of get that out of the way. First of all, new workshops that I have scheduled. I've already sent out the email, the newsletter about that this morning. May 2nd in San Jose, California. And then we will be May 16th in Atlanta, Georgia. Now, right now, that's all I can schedule is because, see, yes, I'm waiting for some things to develop with our relationship with the family. Charla and I, as of now, we are very likely in about a week and a half, we're going to be going to Europe to meet with the ambassador again to be working through some administrative details. The second thing, as I have mentioned before, all of the administration of the funding of projects has been shifted over to the True Vision of Peace team. Now, yes, when I started this all the way back in October of funding projects, at that point in time, we thought that I would be the one that would be administrating that. I want to say I'm actually kind of relieved because it's releasing me to do what I want to do, what I'm supposed to do, what I do well, and also to be free for some things that are coming up in the future. This is best for all of us that they are doing it. And there had been some what are called some workshops for developing business plans that was being done by Gwen Caldwell. And that is now being shifted over to Crystal. You will love getting to know Crystal. She will do these online, and she was the one who really was the visionary person behind this whole True Vision of Peace process. Crystal had actually been someone that had come from London and had attended our workshop in Cleveland, and the ambassador had picked up on her, felt that he was someone that he wanted to become acquainted with, and it's been working out as a great relationship that is there. So here's what I'm saying. Funding of projects is underway. It is happening. Now, having said that, I want to mention, and I want to be really, really clear about this. This whole process, whether it's funding of projects and RVGCR, this is not going to happen overnight in one clear swoop where the family is going to dump billions, if not trillions of dollars into the global economy. This is going to happen in a very deliberate, slow, step-by-step process. And this is a process that can go on for some years to come. So if you've been a little bit discouraged by thinking you can't attend the workshops, you don't have the ability to put projects together, would you please be patient? What's happening right now is the family is not ready to totally fund everything on projects. So the ambassador has decided on his own to step in, and he's releasing some of his funds for early funding of projects, and the team is working out all their bugs. Folks, this is not something that's really simple. You're talking about releasing massive amounts of funds for some very wonderful projects, but we still live in a world where there needs to be a logistical and methodical process so it can be carried out in a healthy manner. A lot of you have a lot of wonderful things that you would love to do, but the reality is this is an open door policy. Anybody can listen to my newsletters. Anybody can subscribe to my email. Anybody can apply to go through that process with the family. And you better believe the fact that there will be people out there who are criminals, who have ill intentions, or people who just want money for themselves, who will go through that whole process, receive funds, and keep it for themselves. That's why there has to be a slow and deliberate, step-by-step process for this. Now, I don't have a feel for the whole timeline. That's up to the ambassador, and that's up to the family. And I am not the decision maker. My job is to be the communicator. So I share that with you. I share the information that they have, and I don't always know what is going on. I have a good idea sometimes, but I don't have all the full answers. Please understand, this is a journey of faith that will take patience, But yet for those who are ready to start early, they get to be the ones who are in what I call the beta testing phase. They get to be the ones that are stepping up and being willing to start this process. And it is a step-by-step process. Secondly, expect the fact that there's going to be some form of an investment from you. History shows if you give something to the masses with not asking anything in return, with not having any type of a personal investment, many of the masses will waste that money. And if you think that isn't so, all you got to do is take a look at the welfare system here in the United States. How people will look for, I want free money, give something to me, but yet won't step up to take a personal initiative to move themselves out of it. Now, I know that's a simplistic issue, and I don't want to be overly, critical of the whole system. I'm using that as an illustration, okay? So there is going to be some sort of a personal investment. And so if you wish to move forward in the funding of projects, there's two things that you will have to do. Number one, you are going to have to attend either the True Visions workshop on putting a business plan together, or you're going to have to attend one of my workshops. What does that do? It says that you've taken some initiative to step into, become acquainted, become a part of the team, and also to understand the overall processes of what is going on. The second thing, if you wish to receive funds, is you will have to develop a business plan and then go through the hearing process with the ambassador. Now, that's all subject to change, but right now they are very, very busy, and they're working out the details of how to make a system operate for many more people down the road. But you know what? And some of you have complained, well, I don't have the money. I thought, please, can I be really honest with you? A $50 fee to attend an all-day online workshop of how to put a business plan together, folks, I don't know anywhere else that you can go that people will not charge you $200, $300, $400 for that same thing. To put up $100 to submit a business plan that will then go on through a further review of the ambassador's attorney for his attorney's firm, his attorneys, for legality purposes, to look through the process to make sure everything's in place. You would normally pay $2,000 to $3,000 for that, and they're only charging you $100. So you see, it's not about how much. It's the fact that you're willing to show that you're willing to put a small personal investment into it. Because when you invest something into it, it shows the seriousness of your commitment. And the reality is it's also going to weed out a lot of people who have ill intentions, of people who are only looking how I can get money for me and for myself. Okay? Be patient in this process. It's a learning curve for all of us. This is a road we have never been down before. I haven't been down it. I'm still learning a lot. Charla's still learning a lot. We can tell you in the last 14 months, it is amazing how much our lives have changed and what we have gone through. But for us, it's been an absolutely wonderful journey because we've learned how to just trust the process, live in this now moment of right here, not being judgmental and critical, and trusting what we're going through. And you know what? We're receiving the benefits of that. Now, also, as I mentioned, the ambassador is kind of kickstarting this whole process. More is anticipated to be coming later. But please understand, what is happening right now is not the end sum of this whole thing. This is a process that could very likely go on for some years. Doors will open up for others. You, by listening to this newsletter, reading my newsletters, attending the workshops, are the very small percentage of people who have the opportunity to be on the very front edge of the shift and change that's coming our way. The other thing, as I mentioned, do not expect massive amounts of money to be dumped onto the international financial scene in just one swell whoop. I kind of missaid that, didn't I? One fell swoop, okay? this is a deliberate process, very slow, step by step, how it's all unfolding. Now, if you want to go and read the dinar gurus of thinking that you're going to be able to go into the bank and exchange your dinar and become a multimillionaire overnight, that's your choice. But I always come back and I say, well, that's nice, but who's paying for it and where is that money coming from? What they have to say, that's their story. What I'm telling you is, for those that are you involved with me here, and that the source of that funding is coming through sources of the Dragon family, as well as the ambassador who is a member of that family, this is going to be a very slow step-by-step process. It's your choice of how you wish to see that. Now, administrative announcements, I think I've carried them all. I've got them all for this week. Just want to thank you. Oh, I do want to mention one thing. For those of you that are watching this on YouTube, and this is the only thing that you're watching, folks, you're only getting a very, very small part of what is developing in the message. That's your choice, what you wish to do. But the YouTube message is an addendum to the larger newsletters and the radio program. For those of you that want to be involved in this full process, obviously you're going to want to watch this, be on the newsletter list, and as well listen to the radio program. If you just want to watch this for entertainment, that's totally your choice. But here's what I want to say about what happens on YouTube. I have about 10 or 12 different ways that people can communicate with me. I have multiple email accounts, more than one phone account. I have Zoom, I have Skype, I have YouTube, I have LinkedIn, I have 2 Facebook pages, and the list goes on. I don't have time to sit down and all day long monitor all 10 plus of those sources and answer all of those questions. So with that, because YouTube is only an addendum, I specifically make a choice. I will not answer any questions that are directed to me on YouTube. So if you're going to direct a question to me and expect an answer, that isn't going to happen. If you wish to communicate to me, the absolute best source is email. And all you have to do is go to my website. It's there, and the link is there of how to email and get in touch with me. The name of the process, the name of the business is called The Sedona Connection, and my email is thesedonaconnection@msn.com. It's that simple if you wish to communicate with me. Now, let's get into the message for this week. Having said that, last week I talked about perception. And it's always so interesting to watch what people will write in all of their comments on YouTube after I talk about perception. You don't want to be negative. You don't want to be generating the energy that comes from around that. And yet people will get so critical, and some of them downright nasty and vulgar. And it's like they didn't hear a thing of what I had to say. Why is that? And how is it that we want to go about making this change? Well, first of all, perception of understanding the power of your thoughts is so important. Now, let me take a step back. First of all, we are beginning to understand, and this is not just a bunch of woo-woo thinking, folks. This is hard science of how powerful our thoughts are in creating the experiences that we want. You are here for a couple of very simple reasons. Number one, you would like to see some changes in your own life personally. You are hoping to receive some sort of a funding that can bring changes to your experiences, your circumstances, and to help bring you to be at a place where you can be in what I call a more peaceful setting, a more joyful setting, a more happy setting. And number two, you're here because you want to help fix and change this world. Either by having funds for projects, a very large number, or you simply would like to receive some money to help your friends and your family. In essence, you don't really like the condition that the world is in now, and you want to fix it, and you want to change it. We're all there. I'm there. Charla's there. All of you would not be here listening to this if you were not there. There's something I have learned in my now 61 years of life through everything that I've gone through. And I really learned this in my 12 years when I was in politics and when I was a state senator. Because see, I would constantly have people that would come to myself and my colleagues introducing bills, introducing legislation, which say, would you change this law, implement this law so you can fix this problem? And you know what? In a 2-year legislative process in my home state, we would have between 3,000 and 4,000 bills that would be introduced. The reality is only 10 to 12% of them would actually make it through the process and get passed into law. And a lot of them were administrative in nature. Now, I understand that. But there were also many others that were there to fix a problem, to solve a problem, to help somebody not become a victim of somebody else. Over the years, I began to realize they all had good intent, but in the end, very little really changed. And that set me on a path to say, why is this? I entered into this process to be a legislator, to help my community and my state to be a better place to live, and what I wanted to do to help fix and change my world. I got in there, I saw the obstacles, I saw the power structures, I saw the power of money, but more than that, I saw that a lot of these laws would create a very small change on the surface, but they would never fix the overall problem. It was then that I began to realize there had to be something else. And I started then going through that own process myself of learning and understanding who we are and how our thought processes work. And you've heard my story. What really woke me up was my own personal crisis that I went through, my financial crisis, because I got caught up into the economic crash of 2008, where I ended up losing everything that I had. I had to file bankruptcy. I didn't have any choice on that. I ended up losing my home into foreclosure. I lost my job. I lost my income. I lost everything. I had to sell all of my, what I would call my valuable personal belongings, just to keep myself afloat. And at the end, I had come down, I had hardly anything left. But in that process, there was a growth and a renewal and a change that was taking place within me as I began to learn how things really work. And I've always been a student of trying to understand who we are as human beings and how our thought processes work. And last week, I gave a quote when I was talking about the importance of perception. And I am an absolute firm believer in this. And it comes from a quote from A Course in Miracles. And it says, "Do not seek to change the world, but seek to change how you view the world." Why is that? We are now starting to learn through scientific research, through medical research, the power of human thoughts. And you've heard me say this many times, and I do repeat this over and over again. Why? Because it takes multiple steps of discipline and multiple times to really understand how this works until we have integrated it into our lives. Let me give you an illustration. I have shared with you multiple times. There is one book that has had more impact on my life than any other, and it's called Disappearance of the Universe by Gary Renard. I just finished reading that book for the 9th time, and that's been in a process of about 5 or 6 years now. Every time I read that book, it speaks to me deeply. It speaks to me deeply, and I see it differently. Why? Because I've changed, and then things that are said, I see them from a new perspective. It amazes me. I've never had that happen with any other book in my life. But it talks about the power of our thoughts, the power of the human ego, which is a thought process in contrast to the divine mind that is within all of us. And it talks about how important it is to totally be in touch with our thoughts and what we are producing and what we are creating. You know, the ego thought process within all of us is a default thought system. And it's the thought process that produces the depravity, the ugliness, the evilness, the crime, the hatred, the division, and the separation of this world that we live in. Albert Einstein said something about 100 years ago. He understood this more than 100 years ago. He said, the world that we live in is just an illusion. And he says, what we call physical matter, whether it's this chair, my hand, the camera, physical matter does not exist. Because everything in the universe is comprised of energy. And when you look at what you think is physical matter under an electron microscope, you begin to realize 99.9% of it is nothing but space and moving energy. Matter is nothing more than a form of energy that is moving and vibrating at a very low frequency so that we can perceive it within our minds. It does not exist as matter until we give perception to it. You see, so it's my thoughts that are creating this paper. Now that may sound really weird to you. Well, that's okay. But this is a whole new world of science that is opening up to us. And you want to know, I shared this at the recent workshop. I am so excited for the young people today because 30 and 40 years from now, they will get it. They will understand it. And you have a choice to understand it now or stay in an old paradigm of an old thought system of thinking that you don't have any control. Because see, when you allow the ego thought system, which is the default thought system in your mind, if you allow that to be there without observing it, without challenging it, without changing it, then we will all be nothing but victims of the depravity and the evilness and the corruption of this world. We can go out and fix and try to fix something, to change something in this world. But it's like, again, what I learned when I was in the legislature. The fix will only be surface level and will only be temporary. And then another problem that could be even worse will pop up somewhere else. The problems never go away until we change how we think. That's the most important thing that we can learn. There was another great quote that had come out of the book Disappearance of the Universe. And it was in line with that quote of, seeking to change how you view the world. And again, it comes in conjunction with Albert Einstein says that the world you live in is just an illusion. It's only a dream. You're living in a holographic state of a dream. And I should say I am. We all are. And that is what science is beginning to show us now. But we haven't shifted and haven't made the transition to understand that and incorporate into our daily thinking. Those of you who are listening to this are those of us that are on the very, very end, I should say the very beginning of this understanding of this. And it's our children that 30, 40, 50 years from now will take this and will run with it and will be living in an entirely different world than what we live in. A great illustration of that is Christopher Columbus. When he came back from discovering this new world, which he didn't really discover, but he did bring awareness to the European Western world that there was a world out there. But more than that, he challenged the beliefs and the thought system of the fact that the world was flat. In spite of the fact that he came back with that, and in spite of the fact that that opened up this whole new era of what was called the explorers, traveling around the world in their ships, and coming back and reporting what it was like, it still took over 100 years for the culture to accept that the world wasn't flat. So where do you want to be? Do you want to be people who are still believing the world isn't flat when the evidence shows that this paper is only a creation of your thoughts, and that further means that your thoughts are what are creating your experience. And you can go out and attempt to fix the world, but you will never fix it until you change how you view the world. Because it's the change in your perception, it's the change in your view that brings about and sets into motion the energy that brings about a new world. We are the ones who get to do that. We are the ones who get to understand that. You are here because you want to change this world. You want a better place to live in for you and for everybody else. Feel that passion. Feel that emotion in you. Feel that drive within you. Get in contact with that and then learn how to change this world. Money is only a tool. If we haven't first changed how we view the world and we receive a large sum of money into our lives, then all we will do is continue in the old paradigm, and it will never bring any constructive change. But if we choose how we view the world, how we perceive the world, what we see in it, then we will bring the constructive change. Now, here's what's going to be really interesting. Watch, in spite of what I have just talked about for the last about 15 minutes, I'm not certain what the time is on that. Watch the comments start showing up on YouTube. Watch people being negative, being critical, being judgmental. What does that say? What that says is you're a slave to your ego thought system, and you aren't even aware of what you're doing. You have no idea that when you start projecting, displaying, thinking, and writing very negative, low energy thoughts of what you're creating, what it means is you are unconsciously allowing your ego mind to control and dominate you and make a slave of you, and you're not even aware of it. We've all been there. I was there for years in my life, and it's not till we make a choice to consciously wake up and shift how we think do we become aware of how we think and our thoughts. Of everything that I can bring to you, of everything that I have to say, the most important thing is be someone who becomes astute and aware of the power of your thoughts, what you are thinking, and what you are producing. That's how you change your world, whether you want it for just you or whether you want it for the whole world. You start by being willing to question all of your beliefs. That doesn't mean that they're wrong, and by question them, I mean by being an observer of them and being aware of them. It says, well, this is a belief that I have. Is this statement true? Let's go back to Christopher Columbus. A person could have developed a belief system because the masses around them were believing this as well, that the world was flat. And they were so locked into that belief that when new information came upon them, and it was irrefutable, it was absolutely evidence that was provable, but they still couldn't shift and change because they were not willing to perceive it and view it differently. They were stuck in a belief system. And what is a belief system? It's nothing more than a thought that you have chosen to receive and to repeat it to yourself over and over and over again until it becomes a part of you. And to change our world, we have to be willing to look and observe, and when necessary, to change our beliefs so we can create something new. Until we do that, we won't see much of a shift and a change. I started this whole process along with you because, like you, I was thinking that this RVGCR was going to come around very quickly and we were going to have become overnight millionaires. And I wrote this article saying, who wants to be a millionaire? And I've come to understand that it is not anywhere close to what I thought it was going to be. But yet I still absolutely believe it will happen. But what I believe now is it's not going to happen as the guru writers have told me, and it's not going to happen as I had originally believed. But because I was willing to be open, I was willing to question, I was willing to investigate, I was willing to observe my thoughts, I was willing to shift and change. And as I was willing to shift and change, then doors began to open up for myself. Charla and I, we're both the same way on that. She's absolutely wonderful of being willing to shift and change and being open to a whole new world that comes her way. And she will tell you her life has gone through almost 180-degree shift and change in the last year and a half, and it's all for the better. We're loving what we do. Life is exciting for us. Life is filled with adventure for us. I had mentioned on last week, I said, in the last about 13 months now, we have done 19 workshops in 16 cities. We've been to China twice, to Europe once, and Puerto Rico twice. And we're about ready to go back to Europe again, and we're going to do 2 more workshops in the next, about 3 to 5 weeks. And you know what? We love what we do. We're loving meeting you and being involved with you and bringing you in as a process of this. We're loving seeing the change in your life and the awakening that's taking place. And we know that foundations are being laid for all of us to have an integral part of creating the shift and the change. But we also know and understand it's not going to happen overnight, and it takes time, and it is a journey of faith. So what we choose to do is to simply just live in this present moment, be here right now, not trying to figure out everything, not trying to wonder what's going to happen next. And then when something comes at us, we just step into it and say, wow, this is exciting. Let's see where this is going to take us. Charla has this wonderful quote she always says, when intriguing opportunities of life present themselves to you, just say yes. And that is the foundation of her new what are called Yes conferences that she's going to start doing. She's got one coming up in mid-June that you may want to be a part of. And yes, and then we're coupling with each other of what I'm doing in contrast to what she's doing. You see, we haven't received any funds, but life has been really exciting for us. Life has been very joyful for us. Are we working through our own issues? Oh, absolutely yes, we are. But underneath it all is this deep sense of faith of knowing where we're going. Because we see the shift and the change that's taking place around us in a very subtle manner. But what we know is that it's laying the foundation for absolutely wonderful things to come. So folks, I want to say thank you.